Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty deep today.
Yeah.
We've got this lecture, right? And it's about, like, a poem.
Yeah, a poem by Kabir.
Kabir, that's
Yeah.
right, 15th century, right?
Uh-huh. A mystic poet.
Mystic poet, yeah. And it's all about, like, waking up, not living your life on autopilot.
Exactly. Living with intention, being more conscious.
Okay, so this lecture we're looking at, it's by...
An Indian spiritual leader.
Right. And we're going to try to pull out, like, the good stuff from it, the really valuable insights.
What I find so interesting about it is it takes these ancient ideas and uses them to explain, like, everyday experiences.
Well, I like...
Makes you see things in a new light.
All right, so let's jump in.
Yeah.
The lecture starts off by talking about these, like, two different ways of being, murcha and amurcha.
Oh, yeah. Murcha is, like, when you're just going through the motions, just reacting to things.
You know, like when you're in a daze.
Yeah.
Just drifting along.
Totally. And then amurcha is the opposite. It's waking up, taking control.
Like steering the ship.
Yes. Instead of being a piece of wood floating down the river.
Uh-huh, yeah. So how do we even start to shift from, like, drifting to, being the captain, does the lecture say?
Well, it makes this point that society can't give us the map.
But there's no guidebook to this.
No. The answers are, like, inside.
So it's more about, like, self-discovery than following rules.
Absolutely. Finding your own path. And here's the thing. It says that we're often walking around, in different stages of unconsciousness.
Wait, I thought we were already awake. What are these stages? How does that even work?
Okay, so the first one is, it's called false awakening.
False awakening.
Yeah. Like, when you wake up but you feel like you're still half asleep?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that. We think we're alert, in control, but actually we're running on autopilot.
So even though we're awake, our minds are kind of still snoozing?
Exactly. Just going through the motions, not really present.
Wow, okay. And what about the other stages? Like, what else is there?
Well, the second one is dreams.
Dreams, yeah.
We have these really vivid experiences that feel real, but then we wake up and poof.
Gone.
Yeah. It shows you how our minds create these whole realities that are, like, not even real.
So even in our dreams, we're not really in control. It's good.
Our subconscious is running the show.
Yeah. Okay, and what's the last stage?
Deep sleep. Total unconsciousness.
Like a blackout.
Yeah. No awareness of, like, yourself or anything.
Okay, so we've got these three stages: false awakening, dreams, and deep sleep. Seems like we could be more asleep than we realize.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we wake up? Like, really wake up to that inertia? How do we get there?
Well, there's this funny story the lecture tells about Mullah Nasruddin and chicken soup.
Okay, that's a new one. I've never heard that one.
So Nasruddin is, known for being generous. A guest comes over, brings him a chicken. He makes this incredible chicken soup.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, word gets around about how good this soup is. People start showing up at his door.
Oh, no. Wanting more soup.
Exactly. He tries to, like, keep everyone happy, but he runs out of chicken. So he starts, watering down the soup.
Adding more and more water.
Or stretch it out.
So it's not really chicken soup anymore. It's like the illusion of chicken soup.
Yeah. And I think that's the point, right? It's the difference between true and false awakening.
Uh-huh. So the watery soup, that's like those moments of happiness we chase, but they don't last.
Exactly. Like, they're not real.
Not like that real hearty chicken soup.
Right. So you think about, like, Buddha's awakening.
Oh, so Buddha, his was like a full bowl of amazing chicken soup.
Uh-huh. Exactly. It wasn't about chasing those fleeting pleasures.
It's a complete change, like waking up from a dream.
Yeah, realizing everything you thought was real wasn't.
So it's about seeing through those desires and finding something deeper.
Yeah. Something that doesn't depend on, like, what's happening outside of you.
That's powerful. And does the lecture say, like, can anyone experience this?
It does. It says we can all experience it, maybe in small ways at first.
That's good to know. But how do we know if we're, like, on the right track?
Well, it says we should pay attention to our reactions.
The reactions.
Yeah, it says our reactions show our level of consciousness.
Okay, I don't get it. What does that mean?
Like, think about anger. We try to control it, right? We make these resolutions, but then we get triggered and
we react the same way.
Yeah. It's like those unconscious patterns are so strong.
They take over before we even realize it.
Right. And the lecture says it's not just anger. It's like praise and criticism, too.
Oh, yeah. We get all puffed up or deflated depending on what people say.
Exactly. Always looking outside for validation.
Instead of finding it inside.
Yes. And, the lecture even talks about that teaching from Jesus, love your enemy.
Love your enemy. That seems impossible, especially when you're like in the moment.
It is hard, but the lecture says it's about breaking free from those patterns.
So instead of blaming others or wanting revenge, we
choose a different path.
one of understanding, compassion.
Yeah. And that, it says, leads us back to ourselves, to that treasure inside, the Purusha.
Okay, hold on. We need to unpack that. What is this Purusha, and how do we find it?
Well, the Purusha is like your true self, who you really are, not the roles you play or the labels you have.
It's that, like, divine spark inside.
Yeah. And the lecture talks about these 6 energy centers, chakras. They're like the keys to this inner treasure.
Chakras, I've heard of them, but I don't really understand them.
So imagine them as these spinning wheels of energy. They're along your spine,
Okay.
and each one is connected to different parts of you. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual.
Little energy hubs.
Yeah, when they're balanced, energy flows, you feel vibrant, connected.
But when they're blocked.
You feel stuck, drained.
So when they're activated, something special happens.
Right. It talks about this powerful energy, Kundalini.
Kundalini.
It awakens when the chakras are aligned.
Whoa, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
So the chakras are the keys, Kundalini is the energy, and that unlocks our potential.
Yeah, you could say that.
But how do we do it? How do we access this?
Well, it's something we'll talk about in the next part.
That's right.
Those chakras, right. And the Kundalini energy, it's like, whoa, like discovering this hidden power inside you.
It's pretty wild. But, like, what does it actually feel like? This Kundalini awakening.
Well, the lecture says it's like this huge shift in consciousness. Like you're seeing the world in high def for the first time.
Right.
Like everything is brighter, more intense, and you feel this like connection to everything around you.
That sounds pretty amazing. But, realistically, how do we actually activate these chakras and tap into that Kundalini energy? I mean, we've got lives, jobs,
Yeah, for sure. And the lecture makes it clear it's not about forcing anything or trying to get to like some mystical state right away.
So what is it about then?
It's about awareness. Like in everything you do, remember those stages of unconsciousness we talked about? It's about noticing when you're on autopilot and gently bringing yourself back to the present moment.
So being more present, more aware of what's happening inside and outside.
Yeah. Like even small things can make a difference. Like when you're scrolling on your phone while you're eating.
Oh yeah, guilty of that.
And you barely even taste your food. What if you put the phone down for a minute and really savor each bite? Pay attention to the flavors, the textures.
Yeah, I do that all the time. It's like my mind is always on the next thing.
That's so common. We're always rushing, always distracted. But those little moments of awareness, they can spark something bigger.
So finding those moments of stillness, to pause, breathe, reconnect.
Exactly. And the lecture talks about practices like meditation, yoga, breath work. They can really help with that.
Okay, those practices. I've tried meditation before, but I can never quiet my mind. Any tips?
Well, with meditation, it's not about having a blank mind. It's more about noticing your thoughts without judgment.
Just letting them be there.
Yeah. Watching clouds go by. And breath work is great for grounding you. Just focusing on your breath can be so calming.
So not fighting our thoughts, but just observing them.
Yeah. And even a few minutes a day can make a difference. The lecture says as you do this, you start to see those unconscious patterns that keep you stuck.
Like how you react to certain people or cling to certain beliefs.
Exactly. It's like becoming aware of your own autopilot.
Wow. So once you see them, what then?
You have a choice. You can stay stuck or you can break free. It's pretty powerful.
So not denying those patterns, but seeing them and choosing a different way to respond.
Yeah. Remember that love your enemy teaching. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing a conscious response, one that breaks the cycle of blame and resentment.
Okay, I'm starting to see how it all fits together. Yeah. Awareness helps us see our patterns and choose a different path. We become more intentional.
Right. You move from reacting to responding. And as you do this, you start to tap into that deeper wisdom inside, that Purusha the lecture talks about.
So we all have access to this Purusha. It's not just for super spiritual people.
The lecture is clear about that. We all have it. It's like a treasure buried under all our conditioning and beliefs. But as you become aware and clear those things out,
the treasure shines through.
Exactly. It's inspiring, right?
It is. But a part of me is still skeptical. How do we know if this is real? Did Kabir, the poet, did he have any proof of this awakening?
That's a great question. And actually, the lecture ends with Kabir's own experience.
Oh, really? What happened?
Through deep meditation and self-inquiry, he realized something amazing. He experienced the illusion of birth and death dissolving.
Whoa.
He saw his true nature, the Purusha, which is beyond time and space.
So he saw through, like, the fabric of reality
Mm.
and saw something eternal within himself.
Yeah. And that brought him peace and freedom. All his doubts disappeared. He found what the lecture calls the wealth of Ram Ratan, like a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment, the infinite riches of it.
So it's not just about being happy or avoiding suffering. It's about realizing something deeper about who we are.
Exactly. And the lecture says we can all realize this. We can all awaken to that spark of divinity within us.
Okay, so if Kabir could do it, maybe there's hope for us too. But practically speaking, what can we actually do to cultivate this awareness and connect with our true selves, in our busy lives?
That's what we'll talk about in the next part, how to make all this real and practical.
Okay, so how do we take all this, all these big ideas about awakening and awareness and actually make them work in our lives? We've talked about the stages of unconsciousness, the Kundalini energy, even Kabir realizing he was never really born or died. That's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. But it's also pretty exciting, isn't it, to think that we could experience that kind of freedom.
For sure. But how do we get there? Like, from these concepts to, actually living them. Does the lecture give us anything practical?
It does. And it comes back to awareness like we've been talking about. Remember the chakras as gears?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the lecture says we can think of our everyday activities as chances to align those gears, to bring more awareness to everything we do.
So like even just doing normal things, but doing them differently, more mindfully.
Yeah, exactly. Like your morning routine, instead of just rushing through it, what if you took a moment to really feel the water in the shower? Or really taste your coffee.
Slowing down, really experiencing it.
And it's not just about things, it's about people too. Like when you're interacting with someone, instead of just reacting, maybe with impatience or judgment.
Yeah, like automatically going into that mode.
What if you paused? Really listened to them, tried to understand where they're coming from.
That's that responding instead of reacting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about creating space for that awareness.
And I guess that's where that love your enemy thing comes in too.
Right. Choosing a different way to respond, even when it's hard.
So it's like, instead of getting all caught up in the drama, we're kind of stepping back, observing it, and then choosing how we want to act.
Exactly. Responding with more wisdom, more intention. And the lecture says that when you do this, it changes not just how you see the world, but how you see yourself too.
Like Kabir realizing his true self was beyond all that, beyond birth and death.
Exactly. And the lecture says we can experience glimpses of that too. When we connect with our true selves, we start to understand that who we really are, that spark of divinity.
It's not limited by our physical body.
Right. It's not bound by time or space.
So it's not just about living more mindfully. It's about changing how we understand who we are at the deepest level.
Yeah. It's about realizing that you're not your thoughts, your emotions, your body. You're something much bigger, something internal.
It's like we're letting go of all those labels and beliefs that make us feel small and separate.
And when you do that, you experience this incredible freedom, that wealth of Ram Ratan that Kabir talked about.
That unbounded joy and peace. Because you've realized your true nature.
So it's not about becoming someone else. It's about uncovering who you already are.
Beautifully said. It's about letting that inner light shine. This has been an amazing deep dive. We've explored so much. The different stages of unconsciousness, the power of awareness, the Kundalini energy, Kabir's incredible realization.
It's a reminder that this kind of life, a life of awareness and intention, it's possible for all of us. It's not just an idea, it's something we can experience.
So, as you go about your day, remember to take a moment to pause, breathe, and connect with that stillness inside. Just notice your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Choose how you want to respond to things.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together.
That's a great thought to end on. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep waking up to who you really are.